welcome everyone. This is Anjali Kochar from India News Network. So today we have with us Mr. Jesal Doshi, the CEO of Indian unit of B Medical System. B Medical System is a Luxembourg-based cold storage manufacturing unit, and it is the first time that they're setting up manufacturing units outside their own hometown, and we are immensely proud that they have chosen India to be their sort of a manufacturing hub in the near future. So Mr. Doshi has answered all the questions that you may have in your mind related to vaccines, or why cold storage unit is important, and how this collaboration which will actually work wonders and will actually boost India's fight against COVID-19.
So starting off with my first question to you would be about B Medical Systems plans of setting up manufacturing unit in Gujarat, and there were reports that the manufacturing was going to start by March 2021. So what is the update on that?
Yeah, sure. So actually, as you know, what we do is we manufacture equipment for storing and transporting vaccines.
Yes.
And of course, in today's time, this is extremely critical. So we had decided to do a phased manufacturing approach, where the focus on our first phase was to start manufacturing as soon as possible. And the second phase was where we would set up end-to-end manufacturing for our entire expanded product portfolio. So the first phase, we are doing it along with a local partner in Mumbai to make sure that we can start off faster. And that was on for March, as you mentioned. So that is what we had targeted. We did not achieve the March timeline, but in April we have started production. So we are, I would say, 2 weeks behind schedule. But still, when you look at the COVID situation in the country, and despite that, to have started production, I think is an incredible achievement for the entire team, as well as for our local partner. So many thanks to them.
Right. So there were also MOUs signed between Spice Express and B Medical System, also with Adani Group and B Medical System, for setting up logistics centers at Indian airports. So can you shed some light on that?
Sure. So with Spice Express, it is about setting up logistics centers at airports, but also beyond airports, to really provide world-class transportation and distribution of any temperature-sensitive pharmaceutical items. So it's not just vaccines, but also biologicals, many other drugs. And that we are in the process of setting up those centers. So they will be operational in the coming 2 months. And we are looking at a pan-India setup for those centers. With Adani Logistics, again, Adani, as you know, owns several airports and ports in the country. They also have a large logistics business. So we are working together with them on many different aspects, again, focused on ensuring world-class logistics for pharmaceuticals.
Right. So, as we all know, the situation of COVID in India is worsening day by day. There are more than 3 lakh cases every day, and there are more than 2,000 deaths every day going on. So, there is only single hope, that is vaccines. And as common people, we understand the COVID situation, we understand the medical system, we understand vaccines, but sometimes we fail to understand the importance of cold storage unit, or what role will it play in actually boosting the process of India's fight against COVID-19. So for a common person, can you elaborate on how will this collaboration between India and Luxembourg, or say B Medical System setting plants in India, will actually boost the process?
Correct. So I think first and foremost, you're right. The only solution to the COVID pandemic is a vaccine. And until and unless we achieve herd immunity, which means that you need to vaccinate anywhere above 70% of the population, we will not reach that point. Now, I think for the common person, when you take a vaccine is essentially a drug or an attenuated virus similar to the coronavirus in your body, but meant to induce the immune response and create antibodies. The biggest challenge with all of these vaccines is that they are very temperature sensitive. So they typically need to be maintained at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. And what happens is if you don't maintain it at that temperature, the virus, the attenuated or weakened virus in the vaccine does not live, which means that what you're injecting in your body is just water. So you may be thinking that you're taking a vaccine which gives you protection and creates antibodies, but if it is not stored properly, all you're taking is water. And so it creates a false impression that yes, I have antibodies, I'm protected. And again, today when you hear, there are many cases or many times a lot of people I've heard say, hey, I've taken the vaccine and I still got COVID.
Right.
And of course, one of the reasons is that the vaccine itself has not been proven extensively, but many of the times it could simply be that it's not been stored properly. And so for no fault of the vaccine, it actually creates, you get infected.
Right. So, like the vaccines in India can be stored at much higher temperature than other vaccines that are foreign developed like Pfizer or Moderna. So, what are the technologies used in your cold storage system which we already don't have? What sets B Medical Systems cold storage units apart from others? And what are the technologies used by B Medical System for this specific vaccine cold storage units?
Sure. So you're right that the Indian vaccines, whether it's Covaxin or Covishield, requires higher temperatures than Pfizer. But having said that, even a Covishield or Covaxin needs to be kept at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius at all times. Okay. Considering we are in April in the summer in India, 2 to 8 degrees is not easy to maintain because you do have temperatures going up to 45, 50 degrees in many parts of the country. Right? So yes, it's less challenging than Pfizer, which requires minus 80, but it's still not easy. Now coming to our products and technology, I think we do have the experience globally. We have been doing this for more than 40 years. And what sets us apart is we have been doing this in very different locations, from Europe or the US to the middle of the jungle in Africa or the desert in Africa. And there is a certain level of solution expertise that we bring that most people do not have today. Secondly, we have the entire product solution. So it is not just at the pharmaceutical manufacturer, but starting from a pharmaceutical manufacturer, let's say Serum Institute in Pune, where you need to transport the vaccine, to let's say a very remote village in the northeast of the country, there is a long journey that the vaccine needs to make, that it needs to make always at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. And even once it reaches the village, it needs to be stored there at 2 to 8 all the time till it's administered. And for that entire journey and the transportation and storage, we are the only company in the world who has an end-to-end solution for everything. And more importantly, we have a solution where you have monitoring remotely of your entire chain. So you would know at any point what is the temperature of the vaccine at that point of time, in what location, and if there was a breach or not. So for us, it takes us 5 seconds to see if a vaccine breach happened over the last month. And I think that is very powerful information to provide, because you know all the way end to end whether the vaccine was stored and transported at the right temperature. And of course, the last point is when it comes to cooling technologies, we have a wide variety of cooling technologies that nobody else has. We can store and transport vaccines from minus 80 degrees Celsius all the way to plus 8 degrees Celsius.
Right. So, talking about you providing the solution for India's vaccine transportation, India is a very vast country. So, how do you plan to take this all ahead? So, we have started with the Mumbai manufacturing unit, but what are the plans of setting up other units, or what's the plan ahead?
Correct. So I think the biggest challenge with India, as you mentioned, is its vastness and the transportation leg. So our first product is the transport solution, which is a very simple solution because it's a single solution for any vaccine. So you can store a Covishield or a Covaxin vaccine, but also the Sputnik vaccine, which will be very soon introduced in India and which requires storage at minus 20 degrees Celsius.
Right.
So our focus is on having a single solution for any vaccine. What we are doing is we are building our own centers around the country to be able to provide that solution to any customer. Today, as you know, the government has also allowed private players for vaccination. So it's not just the central government, it's the state as well as private hospitals. And with this unique network, we'll be able to enable distribution of the vaccine to any corner of the country.
Right. As far as the situation is concerned in India, it's not in hands; it's out of hands. So, what do you think? How long will it take to will it take for your company to actually facilitate the process and actually boost the India's fight against COVID-19? So, how can we have a timeline? Can you explain about the timeline you have in mind?
Correct. So as I said, we've already started manufacturing. So we have our solutions ready now. We can increase our capacity dramatically. From one day to another, we can increase it by 10 times, depending on what the demand is. But I think also what most people don't, and I think it's more hope than reality, is COVID is here to stay for not few months, but for years to come. Because it's also not just that you get vaccinated once and that's enough. You will most likely need to get vaccinated every year. There will be variants, so the vaccines itself will not be working against all variants. So it is a process of trial and error. The fight to eliminate COVID, unfortunately, is not a sprint but a marathon.
Right.
And so we are here over the long run, but we have already established manufacturing to also work with the country and support them in the short run.
Right. Another point that comes to our mind is that this collaboration will actually boost Atmanirbhar Bharat or Make in India. So it is a moment of pride for us. And what is your comment on that?
No, absolutely. It's also a moment of great pride for me personally. I am from India, and I have been with this company for 6 years now. And for the last 6 years, I have been trying to convince the company to set up manufacturing in India. And it's finally happening. So for me, it's a matter of great pride that I personally have been involved in getting this company to manufacture in India under Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Right. So I think we have a long way to go. And lastly, I would say that what would be your comment on the whole on India and Europe relationships? Will it boost after this all collaboration, and how will it work in your point of view?
I have been living in Europe for 6 years now, and the last time that Modi ji won the elections, I was shopping in a supermarket in Luxembourg, and a Luxembourgish lady came to me and congratulated me, saying, "Congratulations, you must be very proud today." And I think what Narendra Modi has achieved for the country is really create a completely different image of India. I would have never imagined somebody to walk up to me and congratulate me like that before.
Especially
And
in
I
terms of
think
foreign relations, right?
absolutely. Right. The fact that they were even keeping track of what's happening in India, and you had elections, and to know, she said, "Oh, Mr. Modi has been elected again." So I think it was a great moment of pride for me. But in general, what you do see is there is a very strong positive attitude of Europe towards India. Uh, Obviously, a lot of it is due to the democratic values that we share. And I think that is extremely important. But there is also huge potential for trade. There is a certain level of openness and willingness to engage in many different business opportunities. I know Prime Minister Modi has been engaging with many of the heads of states of various European countries over the last 6 months. And certainly you can see that attitude change in Europe as well towards India. And moving away, historically, Europe has been very reliant on China for a lot of its trade. And certainly I can see on the ground a movement moving away from China towards India.
Right.
Which I think is incredibly positive for the country.
True. Besides India, are there any other countries you're going to target for setting up the manufacturing units?
Well, at the moment, we only manufacture in Luxembourg, and India will be the first time we go outside our home country, so as to say, after more than four decades. So clearly, India is a huge step. I think at this point of time, we will not look at other places, but really focus on establishing India, and also look at India as an export hub to neighboring geographies, especially in the Middle East, East Africa, and Southeast Asia.
Right, that's great. So I really hope that this collaboration works in favor of the country and works in favor of the entire collaboration, entire bilateral relationships as well. So thank you so much for your time, and it was really nice talking to you. I hope that everyone gets every question answered after listening to your point of view on the vaccine and on cold storage units. So thank you so much for joining in.
No, thank you very much.